All right, everyone. The desperately anti-Trump forces within the media, which is, 90% of the corporate media, at least a good half of the old wave of the alt media, and a slim minority of the new guard of the media, the true social media pioneers of the modern age, the new generation of people's informative content. They've pretended for some time, people who don't like Trump pretend that it's an ironclad objective fact that he colluded with Russia and was all sorts of in bed with them, and that it's just a matter of time before evidence of that comes out and he gets magically impeached and everything is sunny and happy again because Clinton, somehow she becomes the president instead of Pence, or he gets fired too and then she becomes the president or something like that. It's just a bunch of really awful delusions that people have. They don't understand succession. They don't understand the concept of being innocent until proven guilty does extend, in this case, to Trump. They want to crucify him. They're hoping that if public opinion, that's why they cherry pick the polls still, just like they did during the election. They wanted to cherry pick polls back then that said, go, Clinton is 20 points ahead in Florida. She's 30,000 points ahead in Illinois. She's 10 trillion points ahead nationwide. Haha, Trump gets one vote and it's Trump voting for himself. And she wins everything, magical, wonderful, hippie-trippy time of true liberalism somehow. They still do that now. They had another poll the other day saying that Trump had 50% approval, but notice you didn't see this on Business Insider or MSNBC. They'd rather conduct their own horrifically skewed polls as they did during the election and during the primaries to show, oh, he's got like 30% approval or some number like that. I don't believe that at all. No more than I believed it during the election, because the sampling methodology is still totally fucked up. But now you see them backtracking on something important. And this actually started with a few of these firms more than a week ago. That is, that the chorus of people saying, aha, Trump is going down big time now. He will be impeached. He will be removed from office. He will be disgraced and thrown in a jail cell. He is everything wrong with the world. He is our new Adolf Hitler. All of a sudden, some of those firms said, oh, maybe he's not quite that bad. Maybe we shouldn't hold our breath for impeachment. Gotta wait to see how things come out. And I think Rosenstein's comments probably put the damper on their party, because a lot of these media firms are now simply making up stories about Trump. I am now convinced that a lot of these groups, they've manufactured so much false outrage about what Trump supposedly was going to do, that when he didn't actually do the things that they had whipped people up into a frenzy on, they needed more clickbait. Now they have to stuff more fumes into the fire, essentially. They've exhausted their actual fuel, and now they're diverting the exhaust back into the flames over and over, hoping to keep that fire going till they have something else to feed into the furnace. So the new thing was, Trump will be impeached. Now that that story is waning because it no longer looks like they're actually going to nail him for anything, Maddow comes out, link in the description. This is the new thing here. Now, MSNBC's been absorbing dozens of political pundits from the so-called right anyway, which is really pissing off a lot of their fans. Maddow comes out and says, oh, well, yeah, it's absolutely possible that Trump didn't have any involvement with the Russians. That, yeah, they tried to influence our election, but I mean, yeah, in all honesty, maybe he wasn't aware of it. Now, how different is this from a month ago when they said the Russians tried to interfere? Trump not only suggested that was a great thing, and in all honesty, he did make his offhand, somewhat satirical comments about saying, oh, people should hack this material or that material. That is true. He did say that in jest, and that's really the way that he can cast it off as and escape any repercussions for it. Now all of a sudden they say, after months of saying it was certain Trump worked with the Russians, now, oh, maybe he didn't. Maybe it was just Russia in a vacuum attempting to influence the election. I think McCain's somewhat incoherent comments got him a little bit afraid, because I think they're scared that somebody more coherent than McCain is going to make the wild suggestion, what if the Russians did attempt to interfere in the election? Whether it's through sock accounts or whether it's through something more sinister than that. But they were actually pushing and shoving for Hillary Clinton because they realized that Trump would be chaotic, it would be hard to work with him, so maybe they were hoping that Hillary Clinton would win. And a lot of people never even thought of this possibility. Why would they exactly hate Hillary Clinton, the Uranium One Secretary of State, securing for them significant amounts of raw radioactive material that they can even use in their weapons programs through a firm here being sold to them, overseen directly by Hillary Clinton in that form of transfer? Why would they hate Hillary Clinton? Why would they dislike the same person whose husband used to take all sorts of Chinese slush funds, probably much of which was earmarked from Russia or China itself, on behalf of the Eastern Bloc of the world? Why would they dislike why would they dislike globalism? Globalism's not anti-Russian. Russia's part of globalism. We've got to start here. We've got to clean house here. People saying, oh, Putin stands up against globalism. No, he doesn't. He has his own bloc to worry about. He wants to be able to trade with the rest of the world. He's willing to play nice on most things. The fact that he annexes Crimea, has Russia collapsed because it took the draconian step of invading somebody else's sovereign land? No. Why do you think that is? We've got Angela Merkel. I'll make a separate video on this topic now, coming out against sanctions Trump is suggesting to put on Russia. He's actually talking about sanctioning the Russians after repealing Obama's somewhat haphazard sanctions that really only hurt us and maybe give a mild hit to their energy sector. Now Trump's saying, oh, maybe we should make it harder for them to do business with the Europeans, because that's most of the business that they're doing that's not directly fuel related. Even a lot of that, it's all about Europe, not really trade with the United States. Why are the Europeans keep browbeating Trump on being, Russia this, Russia that, Putin is evil, we need an EU army to deal with the threat of Russia. And yet they want to do huge amounts of trade. And then, when Trump suggests cutting that off, Angela Merkel says, no, we can't possibly back this sanction. It's evil, it might hurt Europe. Well, so you don't want to do your part. You want us to stymie trade with the Russians, but you don't want to stymie trade with the Russians. You want to sit there and pretend that Vladimir Putin is also the next Adolf Hitler at the same time that Trump is. Woe unto the Europeans if it were true. But you still want to trade with the Russians. Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. Totally not a deflection off of your own economic culpability in propping up an economy that otherwise probably would already be flatlining. Okay, I'll get into a little bit of that. But we've got Maddow backtracking. We've got Salon backtracking. We've got Business Insider backtracking. We've even got like the New York Times backtracking. Oh, maybe Trump didn't know that this was going on because, he's not a politician. He's simply a candidate who's never held office. So how can we reasonably expect, unless he is in bed with the Russians, provably and objectively, he probably wouldn't know that it was going on. Maybe Michael Flynn operated in a vacuum, and the reason why Trump tried to defend him is he honestly thought, hey, he's not doing anything wrong. All these claims are spurious because they're being spawned by the DNC to cover their own ass. That makes total sense, by the way, as a story. And if Trump sticks with that, he's not going to get impeached. They've already backtracked on that. Oh, don't hold your breath on Evil Dawn being impeached, they say, as the realization sets in that there's nothing to actually charge him with. Now Maddow, far-left heiress as she is, the main figurehead of the corporate media that pretends to like leftist causes, even Brisket Head herself is now backtracking on the issue, saying, maybe there's a possibility, a vague possibility that Donald Trump isn't a Russian espionage agent. Maybe all these other firms that keep putting this, like the WAPO and the WSA, maybe they're full of shit. Maybe Rosenstein is right, and actually we shouldn't be listening to all of these anonymous sources. Oh yeah, says some random person who calls the Washington Post up on the phone. I work in the White House. It's totally not fishy at all that I'm calling you at 5 a.m. in the morning and you have no idea who I am. I saw Trump the other day. He was really mad and he got into a shouting match. First, he got into a shouting match with Jared Kushner, so we know things are going on. They punched Steve Bannon in the face. Then Rand Paul was there. He made Rand Paul cry. And then Rand was considering hanging himself, but Bannon had to restrain him. And then Nancy Pelosi walked in and Trump was sexually harassing her. And then Donald Trump ate his usual breakfast of 10 Mexican babies. And you can trust me because I work in the White House. Yeah, caller from New Jersey, I work in the White House, essentially. That's their idea of anonymous sources. It's total yellow journalism. It's a farce. The big problem in this country is that so-called journalistic firms that are really just for-profit entities that have no responsibility, by the way, to tell you the truth at all. They have no legal responsibility to do that whatsoever in any of their publications. They can make up any story they want, say we've got an anonymous source or we've got a credible source, we're not going to reveal who it is, and nobody can compel them to actually pony up evidence that the claim is true, or that there's even a source. They hide behind the First Amendment to do this, while, by the way, constantly attacking the free speech of people in the actual alt media. Oh, they're not real journalists, they don't have these rights, only we do because we're corporate firms with press credentials. We can be invited in to talk to some politician and give them an interview. Therefore, we're special. The founding fathers really envisioned that a bunch of multinational corporations would strangulate the flow of information in the United States in the future. It wouldn't be private individuals engaging in discourse and discussion through various mediums that they probably did envision would eventually exist. Oh no, they wanted corporate firms to handle it because we know how trustworthy multinational corporations are. Maddow backtracking. I'm not surprised. They're trying to retain their credibility. They know Trump is probably not going anywhere. At some point, they're going to have to work with him at least a little bit, because otherwise their ratings tank. They keep getting screwed because he puts things out on Twitter. Rather than talking to the press and letting them analyze and misconstrue what he says, he'd rather just say it to the American people. I think that's a very, very good strategy because it allows independent media online to report on it before the corporate media can. It takes them hours. They've got to take his tweet, do a write-up, edit it, have it edited a second time, do another write-up, revise it a few more times, cut some video clips, edit them together. They've got to have a staff meeting about what they're going to say about it and how to misconstrue it. It takes them hours. It takes a person with a webcam 5 minutes. They set up, they start recording, they slap it on YouTube. Takes them 5 seconds, they respond to it in a tweet. Takes them a couple minutes, they make a post on a Facebook group. The corporate media is totally vestigial at this point. In the past, it was necessary. People who were in out there communities, they had a TV or radio. They had to get their analysis there. They couldn't hear it directly from the president. It was impossible. The president could give a press conference, but they can't be expected to sit there all day looking pretty for the cameras and deliver 5 or 6 messages every day on the radio or the TV. Closest thing you get to that is like maybe the FDR's sort of fireside chats or something like that in the really early wave. And then politicians, they get busy. They have to do other things. So unless they're appearing on TV, they weren't able to talk directly to people. They'd have like the yearly press conference or something, the yearly State of the Union. Now that's not a thing though. Now the president or any other politician, they can just tweet. They can make a YouTube video. Or they can just tweet and other people can make YouTube videos. It's wonderful. Somebody in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, a town with 10 people, they have internet, they can respond to. This is a good thing. This isn't a bad thing. It's not going to break down some long-standing, wonderful American tradition. It's the restoration of that tradition in the wake of the corporatism that strangulated through the FCC and other groups, TV and radio. It strangulated it, it heavily censored it, it conglomerated it under the banner of a handful of companies, none of which have our best interests in mind. Now it's anybody's game, including people who aren't even in the United States. They can weigh in too. And I can weigh in on their elections, and talk about the Philippines with Duterte. I can talk about Venezuela. I can talk about what goes on in Russia. I can talk about any of this stuff. It's great. Screw Maddow. Why the hell are you even watching cable news? Unfortunately, there are probably thousands of people subscribed to me who still do watch cable news. Cut the cable. Cancel your newspaper subscriptions. Get your family to do the same. Get your friends to do the same. If enough people join the chorus of telling others to do this, we can cripple all these groups. They'll all go out of business. That'd be great. They won't even be streaming on the internet anymore. Wow. How wonderful would that be? They'd regress into nothing more than a website. With a handful of journalists just in DC and a few other urban settings. They can keep reporting. They have that right to, even though they're multinational corporations. It's fine. But nobody would take them seriously, and that's a good thing, I think, for the world. That's about all. Peace out.